folks, thanks for tuning in to the second Fat Lazy upload. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to make this a regular thing, so I may well change the name if I do, but it is a good opportunity to get stuck into the comments. So thanks for joining me today. I know this doesn't appeal to everybody who subscribes, so thank you if you're one of the people that has tuned in. I'm just going to go over a few comments as usual, unscripted. You're going to hear all the traffic in the background, and I'm just going to chat a little bit of the usual. Now, this isn't a live stream for those who are wondering, it's pre-recorded. Although I did do a live stream with Wheezy the other day, and I hope you all enjoyed that. It was my first time live streaming for 6 months, and that was very good fun indeed. And I'm sure I'll be doing that again. Saturday night prime time on a live stream is always good fun, always exhilarating, and it's a good way to indulge the butterflies in your stomach a little bit. And I also hope you all enjoyed my video about Atwood's police interview and his charges by the Crown Prosecution Service, his interrogation by a child protection officer. Very few people think that this is taken out of context somehow. It's as if people just don't want to believe what's in front of them sometimes. People are saying it's out of context. These people are absolutely in bed with Sean Atwood. These people, they've got channels and things like that, and they're pushing the whole prank video as if it's actually a real prank that Sean Atwood did, first of all, and also as if it's the issue in the first place, because the issue is not that, oh, you've all been fooled, it turns out that this was a prank. The issue is that you did it in the first place. You did it with a traumatised, suicidal drug addict, a mentally ill and autistic trafficking victim, and you took thousands of pounds in donations from your audience to support her while you were taking these photos of her in the background, while you were filming this video. You asked her when she was first sexually abused as a child. She came onto your show, she was talking about how she was trafficked, she got straight into that. Sean Atwood says, no, let's reel it back a little bit. When were you first sexually abused? What was your first ever sexual abuse? Were you abused as a child? And she said yes. And he said, who was that by? And she said, an uncle when I was 4. To then go on and film the daddy video, regardless of whether it was a prank or not, which it wasn't, in my opinion, and also in the opinion of Sean Atwood's cameraman, who said that it was created for Callie's adult work profile. Regardless of that, it's completely inappropriate. She's a sex trafficking victim, according to Sean Atwood, if we take Sean Atwood's word on that. And if that is not true, then the GoFundMe was based on a lie. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of whether this was a prank or not, he filmed a suicidal sex trafficking victim, according to himself, a drug addict, somebody with severe brain damage that requires surgery, somebody who's autistic, so easy to manipulate, and he filmed her on her knees, unzipping his trousers and calling him daddy, dressed as a child. And he now tries to argue the point that she wasn't dressed as a child. She was dressed as a child. It's a fluffy little pink outfit. He holds it up and says, here we go, daddy's little girl. I know it's distasteful to some people. It's extremely distasteful the more you think about it, because if he'd held up some fetish gear, something like leather stockings or just whatever, just some fetish gear, something that was obviously from a sex shop, it wouldn't be nearly as bad. The fact that this is an anti-paedophile campaigner, that he says himself he is, the fact that he has filmed this sex trafficking victim dressed in this fluffy little pink outfit, which he calls a daddy's little girl outfit, that is a massive part of the issue, not to mention the attempted cover-up thereafter. Or in my opinion, it was certainly an attempted cover-up anyway. Now let's get back to it now. This is what I do, I ramble when I'm not scripted. So now for Atwood to come out, or Atwood's supporters to come out and say that him being questioned by child protection officers is irrelevant or it's been taken out of context, that's total BS, because this is a man who is an anti-paedophile campaigner who has, in his own words, been questioned by child protection officers, not because he has harmed a child. I did not say that, and I made it quite clear that it was a contempt of court issue, according to Atwood, and according to the source material that clip came from, which I took out in its entirety. Him mentioning that was taken out in its entirety. I didn't cut that at all. That was his extent of talking about the issue. He moved on to another topic after that. The fact that he has been questioned by child protection officers in a contempt of court case and he's an anti-paedophilia campaigner that he so often likes to say, that is concerning because what he has, by the sounds of things, been charged with is something which did not protect victims of paedophilia. He published information which was forbidden to be published. So that is where we're at with that. That is what it sounds like anyway. We will find out more information. Now, some people did query whether he was actually charged. He was charged. There's other videos where he says that he was charged just in passing, and he also makes it very clear as well. He specifically says, as you know, I have been charged. So he definitely has been charged according to the information that he's given, and I see no reason to disbelieve him because people are getting arrested left, right and centre for similar things at the moment. So I just thought I would go into that a little bit just now and also point out that the clip is not taken out of context unless you consider me taking it off Sean Atwood's channel and putting it onto my channel as out of context, but it is not being misrepresented. So moving on then, today I thought we would just go into a few comments like we did last time. Quite good fun if you want to get cancer. So let's just go and have a quick look. Let me open up the comments that I have here. And we'll start off with Emo25. So I'm not going to blur screen names which are just screen names, but I will blur names that have a full name in them. So I'll blur surnames, but I won't blur that are obvious screen names. So Emo25 says, "Are you for real, you nutcase?" Now, I don't know whether that's directed at me or whether it's directed at Sean Atwood. I would assume that it's directed at me. And the answer to that is yes, I am. I am very much for real. Sorry you don't like to hear that your hero has been questioned by child protection officers. But innocent until proven guilty, that is a valid point that must be made, and it was made in my video. He is innocent until proven guilty or until he admits guilt. So that has to be said as well. This could be something that isn't what it seems. It's quite often things happen and then it turns out that they're not what they seem. So we just have to wait and see. So the next comment then is by Snagturner, and Snagturner says, the first thing I thought when I saw this comment was, mate, you are overthinking things. Snagturner says, what I think, hear me out. I think you all work for Sean and he's managing you all, setting you up as podcasters when you're all actors or actresses. Well, some of you. Now, that obviously I was like, come on dude, bit of a conspiracy theory there, but when you actually take a step back and see the amount of actors and actresses that are involved in this whole thing, you've got Sean Atwood's parents, you've got Ron Swanson's got a profile up on that actor's LinkedIn thing, as do Sean's parents, as does Andrew Gine, as do many people involved with many of these reformed gangsters, criminals, and also involved in this Sean Atwood situation as well, including Callie, because there were screenshots that came up before, which I covered in a video previously. I can't remember which one it was, but screenshots from Callie's Facebook showed that she was actually attending auditions. Whether that means she's an actress professionally or not is a totally different story, but you know, a lot of actors and actresses are in this situation, so it's kind of, especially in this fake news world, it is kind of understandable that people would think that something's been set up here for publicity from all corners. I thought for a little while that might be happening with the big podcasters and the podcast war type thing, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure this is just everyone's got their own individual mind, their own individual ego, and their own individual reasons for doing the things that they do, and they're not necessarily linked in the background. But you never know, I suppose. So the next comment then, we've got Jilpi. Jilpi, do you know what cracks me up? He and Ms. Diamond say they are activists. Okay, so which MP have you lobbied? Which policy have you worked on having implemented? Which victims have you represented? Even marches that you've arranged? What's that? None? Yeah, but you're activists. So some classic sarcasm there from Jilpi. The comment is absolutely valid. They say that they're activists, but they are not in any way, shape or form activists. They haven't lobbied any MPs, they haven't attempted to implement any policies, they haven't represented any victims. You know what happens when Atwood gets a victim in his house? he ends up getting them on their knees and filming them as they kneel before him while dressed as children. So that's how Atwood represents victims, and then he puts that out, including nudes, onto a prostitution website. Naked explicit photos of the victim onto a prostitution website. So that's the representation of a victim from Mr. Atwood's side. And marches that you've arranged, no, exactly, they haven't done any of that kind of thing, but they claim to be activists. And even when it comes to Sean Atwood doing the GoFundMe for Callie because she'd been drugged and trafficked and was constantly being sexually assaulted, even at the time that she was being interviewed by Sean, she was being sexually assaulted prior to the meeting and after the meeting, etc., according to their story. Even the GoFundMe that Sean set up for Callie, any notion that that was him being an activist is out the window, because Atwood didn't even pay for Callie's food out of his own pocket. He took Callie's food money and Callie's clothing money out of that GoFundMe. So he couldn't have even just bought her 100 quid's worth of clothes from Primark or anything like that. He couldn't have just, when she was staying at his house for that few months or whatever, he couldn't have just, covered the food bill himself. It had to come out of the GoFundMe, did it? Absolutely shocking, shameful, and in no way does it look like his intention was actually to help Callie. In my opinion, that GoFundMe morally should have been spent solely on rent on a property that was affordable, not a £1,200 a month property. They could have got something for half that price. So, good comment there, thank you, Jill. And we've got a comment here from InMyMerseyParadise, which I wanted to mention here because it says, if he was questioned about something someone said in his podcast, then surely it wouldn't be him receiving a charge. That doesn't make any sense. And I think people are taking this line because they think it sounds like Atwood is lying because he's so untrustworthy anyway. They believe that Atwood is lying, or he certainly comes across as untrustworthy to some. Let's put it like that for legal reasons. But if he was questioned about something someone said in his podcast, it surely wouldn't be him receiving a charge. Because he's the publisher of content which is forbidden to be made public by the court, in that case, yes, he can be charged, and that does sound like what's happened in this case. And then we've got the old classic from Kendra here. It says, he's exposing the elite too much. They will take him down. So I'll let everyone in the audience groan listening to that comment. He's exposing the elite too much. They will take him down. Now, Samson says, who exactly has he ever exposed? And that was exactly the right response to that. And of course, there was no reply. There came no reply from Kendra. It's difficult to believe that these comments are real, from real people who actually believe that Atwood is exposing elites, because all he's talking about is things that are in the mainstream media. And after they've hit the media as well, he's not talking about things that are out of the media, like some of us in this so-called truth community try to discuss. We try to discuss things that haven't made the press. And the reason I call it a so-called truth community is because some people lie to the point that it is as if they live in opposite world, as if they deliberately say the opposite of the truth. And some of them do it from one comment section to another. It's insane. Some people who are trying to get stuck into certain causes at the moment say one thing in a comment section somewhere and then a completely different thing in a comment section elsewhere. And people are starting to get called out for it by other creators, but it is bizarre. It can only be assumed that people are playing games or that they've got severe mental health crises which prevent them from actually knowing what they say from one second to another. And that is severe, so I would really suggest that you go and voluntarily have yourself put into a hospital, if that is the case. So cmautolink, thanks for the comment. He says, Sean Atwood calls anyone who questions his behaviour a troll. Now he's going to end the war on drugs and protect children. Is this guy for real? Massive ego. Massive ego doesn't quite cover it, actually. Good comment, CM Autolink, but massive ego doesn't cover it. What Atwood is doing when he says, I'm going to end the war on drugs, I'm going to protect children, start the war on paedophiles, what Atwood is doing there is from the 48 Laws of Power. It is a theme, and it's one of the laws, I can't remember which one it is, but it's to create a cult-like status, and it is also to attach yourself to a good cause, something that people will be emotional about, and that is how you ascend in power. That is what Atwood is trying to do. He is doing it so obviously, and the problem with these little laws, or these little 48 laws of power, is that your audience is not going to be made up of the best always. So it's something that you need to be careful of. Atwood has chosen a deliberate path, and he's using ending the war on drugs, which he never talks about, and protecting children, which he hasn't done, because if he's talked about forbidden information, court-ordered secret information, or published court-ordered secret information on his channel, he's done the opposite of protecting children. But regardless, we don't know what the full story is with that. We still have to find out to get to the bottom of that. But what he's doing, he's trying to use that as a suit of armour, and he's trying to use that as a way to get a captive, gullible audience that hang on to his every word because they are emotional about these topics. We've got Eddie here commenting on the story that Roscoe sent over about the guy who killed his friend after their balls touched each other during a threesome with a woman. Or a man. It might have been a threesome with a man actually, which would make the shooting even more noteworthy. But Eddie has spoiled it for me by saying the balls touching story is not true, so I wouldn't bother. So thanks, Eddie. Even if that story isn't true, to be honest, the fact that it just came out of someone's mind and they decided to put it down into writing with a photo of a guy, some innocent guy whose mugshot's been taken from something else probably. The fact that that was created by the mind of another person and put onto a fake news story in such a descriptive way, I find quite entertaining. I find quite funny. I've been compared to Viz before, the Viz comic, the Viz magazine, and also a sleazy tabloid, and that's very observant of people. If they'd been here since the start, they would know that my background always was a sleazy tabloid. You've got to be somewhat self-aware when you're talking about things that some of it is gossip and some of it is put out there for fun. And this balls touching story is a good example of something like that. But obviously I wouldn't present a story as true if I didn't believe that it was true. I would always show why I thought something was true or why I believe something to be true, along with the evidence that I've seen. One entertaining story that I found the other day was scientists discover that soy consumption turns monkeys into angry loners. There may be human implications. And it's just a screaming monkey attacking its fellow monkey. It's so funny. It's just the way it was written. Soy consumption turns monkeys into angry loners. So funny. So yeah, so that, that kind of thing is very vizzy and tabloidy. But actually, that study, as it says, may have human implications. That is something that is newsworthy for sure. The balls touching story, I think we all knew it wasn't real anyway, deep down in our hearts. Now we've got DJ Doge. He says his podcast is disgusting, and a vomit emoji. And I do like just a simple 4-word comment like that. To me, is almost art. His podcast is disgusting. It's just straight up to the point. No flowery bullshit around it. Just straight to the point. So DJ Doge. I don't know how much profit DJ Doge has made on the Dogecoin. I would be interested to know, to be honest with you. There's got to be a few Dogecoin millionaires out there. But yes, I totally agree, DJ Doge. His podcast is disgusting. So there was a comment that came to my attention on the Daddygate podcast, which is my podcast channel with Wheezy from the What Is Truth podcast. Young Troy, I hope someone gets hold of your info, because you wouldn't be so clever then. That's just somebody just like bitterly looking on from the sidelines. He's like, oh, I really want harm to come to you. You wouldn't be so clever then, would you? These people, it's just like so much hate in their hearts. And then a response from What Is Truth podcast was just a nerd face. And then the Daddygate podcast responded, our info is out in the open among friends of the channel. Sorry you haven't been privy to it. And then young Troy, I'm talking about your real name and address. Now, it's funny because this guy came from nowhere and only appeared during the period where we were criticising Atwood's cameraman and Atwood more heavily. And for anyone that wants to know why we're criticising Atwood a bit more heavily now, or talking about him more often, it's really because he is working overtime to try and convince people again that the people who are pointing out his actions are completely counter to what he purports to be himself, thus worthy of investigation and criticism. He is trying to say that we're all trolls again. He's putting out content via little sycophant channels, people that see the sub count and start lactating with excitement. And Atwood is a master manipulator of people who are gullible and of people who are starstruck. You know, it makes you wonder if Callie was a little bit starstruck when she went to go and see Atwood as well, which adds another dynamic to how wrong everything is. Username taken says, end the war on drugs. Does creepy Atwood think he's George Bush? Exactly. Like, what the heck? How is Atwood going to be ending the war on drugs? And what content does he put out which remotely is in that direction? He's not even a voice for ending the war on drugs. He doesn't do anything about it. So Atwood's fine to go in and profit from methamphetamine, but now he wants to end the war on drugs now that he's made his money out of it. It's a bit unfair for all the other dealers, isn't it? I mean, I've got crack to sell, you know? Ending the war on drugs would absolutely ruin that. But in all seriousness, I'd support legalisation of every single drug. I think that actually does need to be done. It can be administered to addicts in a controlled environment, and that is proven to help. The UK is actually one of the only countries in the world, I think it might actually be the only country in the world, which actually in some cases prescribes diamorphine, so pure heroin, for heroin addicts. So some people who are their addiction is so bad that they cannot take methadone, they actually continuously, compulsively inject methadone. British doctors and the British National Health Service allows doctors to prescribe diamorphine, actual heroin, to them. And that's a little known fact. It's been like that since the 70s, I think. There's not many people in the country who are actually getting prescribed that, but it's a very interesting thing. I'm quite passionate about addicts being treated with dignity, being treated as a health issue rather than a criminal issue, because that is the problem, is the crime, automatically criminalising people for having an addiction. It's completely immoral. And the fact that these people are criminalised and the fact that their drugs are illegal means that they've got to pay very high amounts to get their drugs, and they're also criminalised while doing it. So how is someone supposed to get a proper job? How is somebody supposed to be a meaningful member of society when they're living like that? It's not possible. It's forcing people to become criminals and addicts. And I'm not excusing any criminal behaviour which involves violence at all. I think if you're violent while you're an addict, then you can go to jail. I don't care. Off you go. But people that are just trying to feed an addiction and don't commit crimes against other people, you know, they shouldn't be criminalised at all. And people need help, especially in this country. So we need some forward thinking, absolutely. And it does actually involve legalising all drugs, in my opinion. So we've got Luminous Lentil, who says, that guy sounds like a piece of work. That Atwood guy sounds like a piece of work. 100%. Luminous Lentil, I do enjoy your 1950s insult there. A piece of work. I actually know Luminous Lentil. We go way back. We've been very drunk many, many times. Little Girl says, you are trolling him. So nice name, Little Girl. My eyebrows are raising slightly with that one. You are trolling him. Now this comes from my video where I trolled Atwood for 2 minutes and then said, I'm not trying to troll Atwood here. This little girl here picked up on it, and some other creators actually picked up on it as well. I'm not going to name any names, but they were like, you just did troll him. It's like, yeah, that was the entire point. It was that was the whole point of it. So we've got Peewee Stairmaster. Peewee Stairmaster says, can someone explain why, and I mean with intelligent reasoning and facts, why this channel is dedicated to trolling Atwood I don't like him, he interviews plenty of debunked cranks and dickheads and takes them seriously, but I could say that about the BBC, so what's the personal beef here? Why go into so much effort about this no-mark? What's inspiring you, pal? Well, I don't think we are pals, to be perfectly honest with you, Peewee. It's a little bit more than him interviewing debunked cranks and dickheads and taking them seriously. The actual issue is all over my videos, so if you want to know what's inspiring me, watch the video that you commented on. That would be a good start. This is another commenter that turned up out of nowhere. It's one of these ones that follow the same path. What they do is they give a little bit of leeway to you. They say, oh, I like your videos, or I've always enjoyed your videos, or I don't like Atwood at all. And then they go into, why are you focusing on Atwood? Why don't you focus elsewhere? And they turn up out of nowhere. So I simply responded, this no-mark has 700,000 subs, claims to be a passionate activist, sets up a GoFundMe for money from his trusting subscribers for an autistic and brain-damaged abuse victim that he was actually taking naked photos of in his flat and putting on a hooker site. She tried to kill herself in his flat shortly after moving in by jumping off his balcony. Why? He also films her dressed as a child, a daddy's little girl in a toddler outfit, unzipping his trousers, calling him daddy, puts that video on the hooker site, admits he recreated her abuse. He claims to be fighting to protect children, gets questioned by child protection cops, tries to have channels closed down for talking about it, never gives a straight answer, constantly changes his story, continues to have vulnerable women on his channel. Should all that just be left alone? Peewee Stairmaster says, no, go for it, and I'm happy to listen to your analysis and exposing hypocrisy, so I'm wondering why those talents aren't applied to a wider range of phonies, and more established and dangerous ones at that. It's always people that have no content on their own channel that give video advice, video making advice, content making advice to you, and it's always about deflecting away from Sean Atwood. He says, so you whip up support and read in your comment section, most of your supporters, I don't call them supporters, but okay, most of your supporters are as incoherent as Atwood, just like a rabble, just smells of some kind of agenda, which I neither care about, nor am interested in. And then he says, bigger fish to fry. So, he says, I neither care about, and I'm not interested in it, although you've written so far 2 paragraphs and disregarded my explanation of what it actually is, and still asked me to stop looking at Sean Atwood. You're saying, go and look at more established people. Well, there's already videos about them, and why don't you go and make a video about that? So, Mr. I've got bigger fish to fry, and I'm not interested in the agenda, I don't care about it, his actual literal words. He then responds to another guy, a guy called Carl Unknown, who says, I don't know what's going on with Atwood, but I unsubbed from him a long time ago. His videos changed from really interesting criminal stories to ones of nonsense and filth, the dark web torture. I watched him on a few occasions and listened to his grunting noises, his ahs, and his fake displays of disgust, but it didn't ring true to me. He would ask for horrible specifics and his eyes would light up. So true. I thought he's a wrong-un, then all this Daddygate stuff just nailed it in my mind. This is this guy's opinion, he's entitled to have his opinion. There's more to this character than meets the eye, so I stopped watching his videos and started watching James English's podcast instead. So, all good there. James English doesn't do any of those things that Atwood does, so it's, you don't feel dirty after watching James English. Now, Peewee Stairmaster says, yeah, me too, so I'd like to know a bit more about Chancer and what's his beef. I don't really know. Yeah, me too, I agree with you about all those things about Atwood, so in that case I'd like to know more about Chancer and what his beef is. You know what my beef is, mate? You know what my beef is. You can see the videos that I've made. My beef is explained in great detail in those videos, and also in the comment that I made to you prior to you posting this one. So he said he didn't care in the last comment, and now on this one he's responding to this guy. He says, about me, he makes solid points, but his output is so targeted. I wouldn't trust Atwood as far as I could throw him, but what inspires somebody to invest this much effort into taking him down? It's not that much effort, to be honest, mate. I enjoy making videos. It's good fun. I find it extremely therapeutic. It's a very enjoyable process making videos, and this is a topic which I believe requires a spotlight to be shone upon it. That is why I do it. I wouldn't call it effort. It's not like he's Tony Blair or Boris Johnson. Okay, if there's an agenda there, I may be happy to back it, but Chancer is not explaining where he's coming from, so there's just as much codology going on here until we know. Now that's bullshit, isn't it? Because Chancer's not explaining where he's coming from. I absolutely make it damn well clear where I'm coming from, and it's quite clear that After the Daddygate situation happened, a section of Atwood's audience broke away. They did not believe what they saw. They became red-pilled against Atwood in that moment. We broke away. Some channels were made during that breakaway. My channel was one of them. I couldn't find anywhere that was putting everything together in one continuous video to bring it all together so people could know exactly what was going on from start to finish. That is how my channel started. And ever since then, I've just learned how to make videos, or tried to learn how to make videos a bit better, to make them more entertaining and to make them more enjoyable to create and watch. People think that this is some sort of peer-reviewed journalism school that they're coming to. They're not. This is YouTube. If you don't agree with my take on a topic, go and make a video about it, pointing out why, or don't watch the channel. I scroll through YouTube and see various videos about things that I'm not interested in, such as how to make a creme brulee. I'm not going to stop on the well, that might actually be quite interesting, but I'm not going to stop on a video that I'm not interested in and say, this is shit, make something else, this is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And you know that this guy who's come out of nowhere, he's the one with the agenda, obviously, because he's literally just said that he doesn't care about anything. He's got bigger fish to fry, and might have actually been before that, but he had commented to this Carl Unknown guy that he really does care, but because he's not getting personal information about me, then he's not interested, and he's trying to put off somebody that is interested. So there you go. So cmautolink again, thanks for the comment. He says, every time Marvin Herbert puts up an upload, loads of essays minions go on and leave negative comments, even to the point they are commenting on how Sean Atwood is the #1 podcaster and Marvin will never be as good as him. It's pathetic. So I thought I'd go and have a look on Marvin's channel, because I am subscribed to Marvin's channel, but I don't, or am I? I don't know if I am actually. I don't really watch his content, to be honest with you, because I'm not really into the whole reformed gangster shtick, although I do believe that Marvin is reformed. It's just that I'm not really into that whole thing anymore, because a lot of it seems like grifting. I'm not saying Marvin specifically is grifting, but the whole thing seems like grifting, and there's no real entertainment involved in it, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. A lot of people do. Well, I thought a lot of people liked Marvin, but then I went and looked at the comments, but this guy's right. I mean, there's so many comments when you go to Marvin's channel that are really against Marvin. Although I haven't seen anyone mention Sean Atwood, I'll be honest with you, but every single comment, as you can see here, is just everybody slagging Marvin off, saying, stop talking about yourself, why do you keep interrupting him, what is this bullshit? Marvin, read the 1,000 comments to say you're too self-centered. Marvin loves his own voice, he might as well interview himself. Trying to listen to Liam, but Marvin keeps going on. How many times do we have to hear Marv's story instead of the guest? Marvin is too proper annoying. Bloke. Need someone behind the camera telling Marvin to shut up. Jesus, why is it all about Marv? Let the guy talk. Fake as fuck, poor from you, Marvin. You got done here. Christ, let the dude talk, mate. All these comments are super negative comments. But it's not reflected in the like to dislike ratio, and it's not reflected in the views. So maybe these comments are part of a campaign to flood someone's comment section with negative comments. It's quite possible that does go on, but I would suspect maybe that these people are maybe being honest with it. And good on Marvin, he doesn't delete the fucking comments, he leaves them up. So good on him there. But yeah, I thought it was quite funny. I didn't see anything from Sean Atwood's minions, but absolutely it would appear that that Marvin's comment section has been absolutely flooded with negative comments. So I thought that was quite interesting. Twinkle points out, or asks the question first of all, autistic and brain damage do you mean? Because autism itself isn't brain damage. Yes, I should probably make it more clear when I say Callie is an autistic brain damaged person. I mean autistic and brain damaged, not that autism is brain damage. Now Twinkle goes on to say what's sad is that autistic people have difficulties recognising the intent of someone, which is why they can easily be taken advantage of. Very, very true. and understanding social norms and body language. It's quite disgusting that he would do that, and if it was my daughter who's autistic, he wouldn't need to be arrested. Absolute good point. Now, Peewee Stairmaster, who said, I don't care about any of this, I've got bigger fish to fry. 2 days previously, he was saying, I've no qualms about you going after Atwood. I started out enjoying his channel, then ended up feeling my intelligence was being insulted by a fake and a phony before I even came across your work, so don't watch him anymore. That said, is there some background as to why you're monitoring him so closely? Again, watch the bloody videos, mate. Happy to hear your points, but am I missing something about his significance to you? Yes, you clearly obviously are missing quite a lot. It's not difficult to figure it out. Plenty of horrors out there, like. So he starts off with that, then he didn't get the response, he didn't get any response to that, and that's when he started commenting again with longer and longer comments, and also commenting to other people, and I'm sure he's made other comments to other people as well that I haven't picked up on. You know, this is just obviously somebody that's trying to muddy the waters a little bit. So, fun and games. Spooky Mink Overground says, keep shining the light. Please continue to highlight #prankgate, #daddygate. I cannot believe there's anyone who cannot see what is quite simply, I think this is a sex trafficking victim, quite simply a STV, sex trafficking victim, dressed as a little girl pretending to suck daddy's dick. If they cannot see that, then it is a deliberate refusal of acknowledgement in order to protect SA, Sean Atwood. In no way, shape or form is it okay for a purported advocate of sex trafficking victims and child safety. Sean Atwood is so deluded, he thinks that plugging his channel to CPS makes him infallible. Keep going. I feel that particular camp is about to crumble. That's actually quite an interesting point, and Spooky Mink has got a channel, so you should go over there and subscribe to Spooky Mink's channel, because she's been pointing out Sean Atwood related stuff before I was, if I remember correctly. And a good point is made there. Sean Atwood is so deluded that he thinks that plugging his channel to CPS makes him infallible. It does make you wonder if Sean Atwood was saying that the child protection officer was so shocked to be sitting opposite a man whose mission it is to end the war on drugs and protect children. That was Atwood's words. If Sean Atwood is saying that, does that mean that when he was in the interview with the child protection officer, he said, I've got a YouTube channel and it's about fighting the war on paedophiles? Did he actually say that to the officer? Because if he did, I can only imagine the look of shock on the officer's face was maybe misinterpreted by Sean Atwood. But yes, he thinks that makes him infallible. He is. He's absolutely delusional. Thanks for the comment there, Spooky Mink. Adama Production says, think the underground character means doorstep, a doorstop. Well, it keeps your door open. Flipping intelligent, aren't they? And then Schooly P says, maybe he'll turn up with a box of Daz washing powder and a giant check. So you're showing your age there, old school Pete. Those were the days, the nostalgia of the Daz doorstep challenge. That was quality. And to be honest, Underground does look a little bit like Danny Baker. It was Danny Baker that did that, wasn't it? Underground kind of does look a bit like Danny Baker. New conspiracy inbound. Kristen says, well, I heard her talking in a vid and she is in no way brain damaged. Talking about Callie. Okay, but she says she is brain damaged. Whether you were abused in the past doesn't mean you cannot have consenting adult intercourse. Who the fuck said anything about them not consenting? Nobody's ever said anything about them not consenting. I don't know what your point is here. The point of the matter is Atwood is an anti-paedophile campaigner who interviews victims of paedophilia, while in the background he has a victim of paedophilia on her knees being filmed, pretending to suck his dick and calling him daddy, while dressed in a little frilly pink princess outfit, which you could not get in a sex shop. It's not fetish gear. So where the fuck has that come from? You've got to go to some seriously weird specialist places to get that, surely. That's the thing that people seem to forget. A lot of people are still on the side of, well, you're just kink shaming. It's just a kink between two adults. But why was she dressed as a child? Why was she dressed as a little child? It's so off-putting and it's just horrible. It's just like you've taken a child's outfit and put it into that situation. It's disgusting. And if what the landlord says is true about the child's bed being stolen, if that is true, then that also raises some concerns. Justin says, Did you see the Sean Atwood Samantha Brown episode about porn and abuse? I watched that and it struck me that she was describing the same topics that were in the video that he made with Callie. I wonder if Samantha knew about the video with Sean and Callie. It's bizarre to watch him react with disgust when she's describing young girl / schoolgirl porn and the actresses being vulnerable young women. Exactly. It's bizarre to watch him talking about these subjects with people who appear not to know what Atwood has done in the background. To talk about young girl / schoolgirl porn and the actresses being vulnerable young women, and then Atwood reacting with disgust when he's filmed and made pornographic images and sexually charged videos involving somebody dressed as a young girl, it's just brazen. It's absolutely brazen. It's completely out of order, and it's just insane that this guy hasn't been Me Too'd yet. I'm telling you, it's absolutely mental. But no, I didn't see that Samantha Brown episode. I try not to watch his content as much as possible, but I will quite likely go and check that one out actually now. So thank you for the comment there, Justin, because I'd like to see what is going on. But I've seen it many times with him talking about things that if literally he's done with Callie and acting as if it's the first time he's ever heard such stuff, and he's absolutely shocked and appalled. So Sunshine Lindsay says, people who have nothing to hide do not go around threatening people or making up stupid rumours. True. Everyone listening hurt their eyeballs by rolling them so hard over Sean Atwood's cameraman. Maybe he trades ridiculous threats on behalf of Sean Atwood for something from Sean Atwood. I wonder what that is. Yeah, and, Underground, Atwood's cameraman, Underground, he is not only making threats, but we've actually found several comments from him which are sexualised insults towards female subscribers, where he's talking about calling them sluts and talking about their bodies and things like that. So the guy's actually seems to be a complete pervert to me, and that's something that we may talk about later on, especially if he tries to deny it. Then we'll certainly be talking about that later on. But yes, he makes sexualized insults towards female subscribers, people that he knows are female. So it's pretty disgusting for somebody who's, I don't know, Underground must be approaching mid-40s at least anyway, mid-40s plus. It's just gross. He's acting like somebody that doesn't get any, if you know what I mean. Now, John Rowland says, who decides what's news? And also, this is actually in relation to my video where I talked about the guy that slit the throat of a little girl. Also in that video I covered a guy who, for the second time, snatched a teenager off the street and raped her. It was his second rape or sexual assault charge, and the latter guy got 7 years as a minimum tariff for a life sentence, and the earlier guy got 14 years for slitting a 6-year-old girl's throat from ear to ear. 14 years, it wasn't a life sentence, it wasn't a minimum tariff, it was just 14 years, so it'll be out in about 10. So I made a video about this and obviously was absolutely disgusted by these short sentences. So John Rowland has commented, who decides what's news? And it does make you wonder why certain things are kept out of the news. Who decides? And also, what kind of life is a little girl going to have? It's just so sad. They need to bring back the death sentence for these crimes. What a joke. And I completely agree that the death sentence should be brought back for crimes of this type. I am absolutely in favour of the death penalty. I hope that isn't too controversial for YouTube, but I'm 100% in favour of the death penalty, or failing that, whole life tariffs where there are no questions asked. You're not getting parole, and that is the end of it. The only thing with the death penalty is, I suppose, you're putting the act of killing onto another person, so somebody's got to be the executioner, and is that moral? Is it moral to heap that onto another person? That's a moral question. But I'm sorry, if you've snatched somebody off the street for the second time in your life and raped them, a complete stranger, then you should be put to death. There's no questions about it. There's some countries in the world where not only you'd be put to death, but your entire bloodline would be tracked down and put to death for that. Not that I'm suggesting that, obviously. It's a little bit too harsh, maybe, but yeah, I mean, the punishments in the UK are just absolutely galling sometimes. So we've got a comment here from a guy called Michael. He says, Hi Chancellor, is there any way to get a hold of you, mate, for a very quick chat? I have something which is right up your street which I would like to show you. I do not want to pester you or anything, I just want to show you something and leave it with you. Now, I didn't see this comment, and a day later he was like, I think Chancellor needs debunking. So this is the reason why you don't get too involved with people. You don't take information from people because they're so ready to just turn on a dime. You take information from somebody and then you try and run with it, and then they get upset that you haven't given them enough credit, or they get upset that they just suddenly just turn on a dime and absolutely change their opinion. They start attacking you. I've tried to help various creators in this sphere, and it's always bitten me in the arse. And I know I've said some pretty dickish things in jest about people in private because I make sick jokes. That is what I do, but and you don't want those sick jokes to be public quite often. That's just the way it is. But I still help people, and I still want people to succeed, and I like a little bit of competition as well. And when competition disappears, it's a little bit sad because you don't have that competition to go alongside. And competition's good. It actually lights a fire under your arse and makes you go, and you can thank your competition as much as you can pat yourself on the back for your success in many, many cases. But anyway, this guy suddenly, I think Chancellor needs debunking because he didn't hear back. I'm presuming that's what it is. I might be misconstruing things. I am guilty of misconstruing things now and again, but just quite funny that I didn't respond and then suddenly that. So no offense, but it puts me off taking your information, I'm afraid. And then I'm going to end it on this one because we're approaching an hour, but we've got Alicia, and she says, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool and creative idea. I think it's a cool and creative idea to create a YouTube channel and spread awareness. Cool and creative. It's also good journalism. However, it's sus that this video has gotten 10,000 views, yet only 10,000 subs. Sean has almost 700,000 subs. So if Sean, as a prolific YouTuber, is indeed breaking the law, wouldn't YouTube have shut him down by now? My question to you, Chancellor, is why Sean Atwood is the only subject matter on your channel? Why don't you cover other people or subjects? Many people here in the US go to jail with serious and not so serious crimes, many whom are also innocent as well. It is well known that our jails and prisons are big money makers and the system is geared to fuck a person. Well, more than one way. Which I do not support at all. I do not support rape in prison at all. I don't think it's particularly a funny topic. But once in the system, it becomes a revolving door. As far as Sean Atwood selling drugs to children, I don't know where you got that. I never said Sean Atwood sells drugs to children. I'm not going to say what I was going to say there. You silly person. Are you not aware who is allowing the drugs to flow here? Don't be naive. I don't believe in condemning a person who has done their time over and over. I'm quite sure if Sean, as a public man, is indeed committing serious crimes, then he will be exposed. Why not expand on your subject matter? So there's another person that's came out of nowhere and asked me to look in the other direction. Don't talk about Sean Atwood. Why are you focusing on Sean? Look elsewhere. Look elsewhere. Another person with zero content on their channel about anything to do with this. Why not expand on your subject matter? Well, to say that I haven't got any other people on my channel, I counted a quick count through my videos. I counted videos about 20 other people. So there's 20 other people featured in my videos. I'm not really sure why you're concerned that I'm focusing on Sean Atwood. There's an ongoing situation with Sean Atwood, so it's worthy of focus, especially when he's trying to now go back into saying they're all trolls, all these foolish trolls, fell off my prank and now they can't get over it and all this crap. This person is also saying that if Sean is indeed breaking the law, wouldn't YouTube have shut him down by now? I'm not the one that said Sean Atwood is breaking the law here. He is the one that said he has been questioned and charged by child protection officers and by the Crown Prosecution Service. It's him that said this, so go and speak to him about that. And then, why don't you cover other people or subjects? They clearly are deliberately ignoring all the other videos on my channel. Yes, I have a focus on Atwood at the moment. I was actually going to stop focusing on Atwood, and then he came out, guns blazing, accusing everyone of being trolls for talking about him and trying to remove Truthy's channel, the What is Truth podcast, off YouTube with false copyright strikes issued by him and by his staff member, Underground. So this is absolute bullshit. As far as Sean selling drugs to children, I don't know where you get that. Where the hell did I say that in the video? I said his charges include minors, and I showed a screenshot of him saying those charges were dropped. I wasn't saying he was selling drugs to children. It was me that got accused of selling drugs to children. If you actually listen to the video, Alicia, are you not aware who is allowing drugs to flow here? Don't be naive. What's that got to do with anything? And condemning a person who's done their time over and over. That's part of the punishment. I'm sorry, that's part of your karma. If you sell crystal meth and get arrested and do your time and you get out after 5 years for selling loads of crystal meth, people are still going to criticise you. No, I don't agree with him being legally punished, but people don't need to like that person, trust that person, or want that person anywhere near them or their children. I absolutely do not believe in condemning a person who's done their time if that person is reformed. I do not believe that Mr. Atwood is in any way reformed, and that is based on his behaviour and his comments to me about being jealous that I'm not in a threesome with him and the sex abuse victim. But what this person is doing effectively is coming onto a channel and asking the creator of a video to do videos about something else, which is a common theme with these people. I've got other hobbies and other things that I do, and one of those things is painting. I like to paint, and if I was sitting there painting and somebody came over and said, I think it's a cool and creative idea to paint pictures, but why don't you focus your efforts on something else? Why don't you do something other than painting? Or why don't you paint something else? Why are you painting that garden? Why don't you paint a cat or something? That's exactly the same. It's like somebody coming up and saying, why are you painting? Why are you painting that? Why don't you paint something else? Why don't you paint what I want? Someone that's never commented on your work before. If you don't like it, don't watch. It's simple. Go and make a video yourself. You've obviously got a far higher IQ than I do. Why don't you go and make a video yourself about something that you want to make a video about? And we go back to this whole thing. It's like, this isn't peer-reviewed journalism. This is me making videos based on my observations and expressing my observations, my beliefs, and expressing the reasoning behind my observations and beliefs. That's what this is. It's YouTube. It is a little bit of fun. Now, it's a serious subject matter, but YouTube is a creative outlet. It's not for you to come over and tell me how to do things. No offence or anything like that. I'm more than happy to take constructive feedback from people, but I do have a little rule in life in that I only take constructive feedback from people who know what they're talking about. I'm not going to take money management advice from someone that's bankrupt, and I'm not going to take channel advice from someone that doesn't have a channel, doesn't make content, doesn't make videos, or their videos are crap. No offence, and I'm sure many people think my videos are crap. I know they do. That is entirely the right of them. I'm not going to be salty over that. But I don't go onto their channel and say, you should do this, you should do that. It's just the height of arrogance, and I just wonder how these people get on in life, actually, if they go around thumbing their way into other people's creative ideas and saying, go and do something else instead of that, because I don't like it. Please go and do something else. It just seems daft that people have actually made it into adulthood with this kind of attitude, in my opinion, of course. So anyway, folks, I'm going to leave that one there just now. I do appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Much appreciated to those of you who comment, even the ones that leave comments which I disagree with. If you do have anything that you want me to talk about or anything like that, any questions or whatever, on topic or off topic, then I will basically just go through the comment sections here and there and just randomly pick stuff out. So feel free to drop it in the comment section. If you've got anything specifically that you want to ask or anything like that, I can be found on Twitter at ChancerMedia. So once again, thanks for tuning in, peeps, and I will catch you on the next video, probably. Cheers.